Hi, everyone. First of all, I want to welcome everyone here. Um, my name is Naomi Kapp, and I'm Associate Director of the Yeshiva University Career Center. And I think this is the fifth webinar in our Career Center series on strategy and professional development. We've initiated these webinars since our office has gone virtual, like the university. And we hope, we're very excited because we hope this way we can reach many more people than we would have when we had just one location and perhaps students couldn't get to it. So we're very excited for this webinar. And the webinar is actually entitled, "It's Not Too Late, Optimizing Your Summer 2020. Learn what you can do to make your summer productive." So I just want to say that, oops, I don't know how I got ahead of myself. Okay, so I just want to spend a couple of minutes talking about what this really means. So some of you may not have had the time to look for an internship. I know that, this COVID situation has affected many people in many different ways. And many people have different coping capabilities. So some students I have spoken to even have said, you know what, they have been so stressed out by being online learning this whole semester that they just need to chill out this summer. And while that's fine, okay, I still want you to know that even while you're chilling out, there are absolutely steps that you can take to make your summer productive. And the reason I stress that is because when any of you will go for internships or full-time jobs or be interviewing for graduate schools next year, and hopefully you'll be doing one of those three things, and a potential employer or a potential admissions officer says, "So how did you spend last summer?" You're not just going to say, "Well, I was stressed out, so I just chilled out." I don't think that's the best way, even though it may be the honest answer. I'm not sure that's the best way to approach the question. I think what you want to do is show that despite the fact that maybe you couldn't get an internship, or maybe you were getting married and didn't have the wherewithal to get married, to plan for your wedding and do an internship, that you have spent productive time thinking about how you are going to create an optimal summer for yourself. Now, some of you may still also be looking for internships. And those who are still looking for internships, I just want to urge you to all, if you are a student at Yeshiva University, that you should all go on YUCL, which is our online portal for internships and job opportunities, because our employer relations division, we have two divisions, the advisement division or advising division and the employer relations division. The employer relations division is very busy at work, securing even more internships. Some have research opportunities. So please, for any of you who are still hoping to get something, to get an internship or to get a research assistantship, it is not too late. So that's the first thing I want to say. And for those of you who feel that, and some of just the internships I can mention that are out there, some of them, one of them is for a company called Similar Web that does, they have HR, sales, and marketing positions. Mass Challenge has a virtual internship for an Israeli startup in marketing and sales. American Jewish Congress has a virtual internship. Just You Magazine has a virtual internship. The graduate school is looking at Yeshiva University. The graduate school programs are looking for an intern. I think the physics department is still looking for an intern. So don't think that there aren't opportunities. If you go on YUCL, our online portal, you'll find opportunities there, I'm certain. So for those of you, though, who are taking the tactic that they want to have a little bit more of a chilled summer, but yet, be able to honestly say to a potential employer that they use their summer wisely, I'm going to talk about strategies that you can employ in order to make your summer productive. So in order to do that, I'm going to go to slide 2 now, which is what are the learning outcomes of today's session? First and foremost, if you're going to make the summer productive, you have to look at, what are employers or potential graduate schools looking for in candidates? So whether, again, we're talking about an employer who's looking for an intern for the fall, or someone who, an employer is looking to recruit for a full-time for the following, for the summer when students finish their senior year, or whether students are applying to graduate schools for this upcoming year for potential acceptance for September 2021, they're all looking for a certain skill set. And the way you can make your summer productive is by ensuring that you are working on the skill set that they're looking for. And so we're going to discuss now, what are skills that employers are seeking? What are skills that graduate schools are seeking in candidates? And then the second learning outcome of today's session is learning specific ways that you can work on those skills this summer, even during the COVID, environment where social distancing is really critical, to show that you're a competitive candidate. So those are the 2 learning outcomes. So first and foremost, let's look at what employers or what graduate schools look for. So we didn't just make up, I think, employers are looking for X, Y, Z. We have a professional association, we meaning the Career Center, is a member of a professional association called NACE, the National Association of Colleges and Employers. And what they do, they have, this organization has both members who are employers and members who are college career centers. So what they did is they surveyed their employers and looked at the top 8 skills that employers, or they call this career competencies, that employers are looking for in candidates. So I'm going to just briefly go over each one, and then we're going to look at each one separately and look at what are the strategies you can do in order to get those skills or work on those skills. So first is oral and written communication. So you can probably say, yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory, and it is pretty self-explanatory. They're really looking for people who can articulate thoughts, ideas clearly and effectively. So what they're looking for is people who can communicate effectively verbally, and people who can effectively communicate in writing. And that's really the encapsulated version of what they're looking for. And they're looking for this in a professional environment. So not that you can SMS friends, or not that you can text friends, but that you know how to write in a professional manner. Okay. Second thing they're looking for is critical thinking and problem solving skills. So how can you think through problems? Because in any internship, in any full-time job, in any graduate school training, you're going to be asked to apply critical thinking skills, your analytical skills. Are you a creative problem solver? You can think out of the box. And that's precisely what this workshop is about tonight, or webinar. It's helping you look at how can I use my summer in a creative way to actually work on these skill sets. So teamwork, collaboration is another skill they're looking for. Can you work well with others? And I know a lot of students oftentimes choose certain majors because they know they won't have to either use their oral and communication skills, or don't have to use their teamwork or collaborative skills. But the truth is, almost every career I can think of today, you need all of these skills. So even if you're an accountant or an accounting student, and you like to work with data and information, you still will be part of a team. You know, if you're looking for an internship in the fall in accounting, you're still going to be working as part of a team, and you have to know how to work effectively with part of a team. Or if someone is in data analytics, again, you think it might be a solitary position, but actually you're going to have to collaborate with others and other people in other departments. So again, teamwork and collaboration is going to be important in any career area you choose. Leadership. Again, I will probably say that yes, there are certain careers where leadership is critical, but there is a level of leadership that you have to be able to demonstrate in any career. I will tell you that I think one of the things that students are really surprised at is that, let's say, again, I'm using accounting as an example, but in accounting, on the accounting interviews, they'll say, tell me the last time you took a leadership role. So you may think, oh, that probably will be asked in a medical school, you know, in a medical school interview, but why on an accounting interview? Because they are looking for people who can move ahead. And when you move ahead in a career, you take on more leadership responsibilities. So it's never too early to start with looking at leadership skills, building leadership skills. Digital technology, another area that a lot of people, I think, avoid certain majors because they don't feel very competent in dealing with digital technology. But I will tell you, I cannot think of a career where you don't need to have some kind of competence in digital technology. You know, a lot of people think, oh, in healthcare, I really just want to work with people. Or as a psychologist, I want to just work with people. Well, you can do that, but you also have to know software in your industry so that you can do proper record keeping. You know, a lot of government funded, you know, programs require that you produce reports at the end of a specific time period. So are you going to be able to do that? So you have to have a level of digital competence. Career management. Do you have an awareness of what it takes to work in your career? And do you know the steps that you need to take in order to get there? Professionalism, work ethic, and that again is critical no matter what you go through. So one of the things I always say to students who are at the undergraduate school, Yeshiva University, one of the ways you can demonstrate your work ethic, your strong work ethic, is by informing interviewers that you are in a dual curriculum program, which requires a lot of time management skills and requires a very strong work ethic to be on top of your studies. But we're going to talk about other ways you can gain these skills this summer. And finally, and not least of all, global intercultural competency. How can you show that you are able to work with diverse groups? Not only groups that you're familiar with, but groups that are outside your comfort level. And again, there are ways that you can work on this summer that can help demonstrate that. So I'm going to the first one very quickly. I'm going to just read what that, again, the formal description of that. It's people, the oral and written communications, okay, articulating thoughts and ideas clearly and effectively in oral and written forms to persons inside and outside the organization. The individual has public speaking skills, can express ideas to others, and can write or edit memos, letters, and technical reports clearly and effectively. Very simple. So how can you work on these skills over the summer? Okay, these written and oral communication skills. Well, one way, actually, is taking a Dale Carnegie course. Okay, it's a little bit outside the box, thinking outside the box. And I know some students actually who go to the undergraduate school have actually taken this course in Israel. Again, I'm not really quite sure where they offered in Israel, but some students have utilized their time in Israel to work on their oral and written communication skills by taking a Dale Carnegie course, How to Win Friends and Influence People. So again, this builds a lot of self-confidence so that when you are going out on interviews, that you have a way of carrying yourself because you have worked on your oral communication skills. Another, excuse me, another strategy is joining a Toastmasters club. For those of you who don't know, a Toastmasters club is a club of peers that decided to get together to work on their oral communication skills so that they rotate getting up in front of colleagues or peers and delivering lectures or presentations. And it's the way in which people can really work on, again, their oral skills. You can take a writing or speech course online this summer, not necessarily even for credit, but just to gain experience. Start a blog. I cannot tell you how, how important social media is in this day and age. Starting a blog of something you feel passionate about can actually create a very positive online presence for you and build your portfolio and build your brand. So that's very important. And do something. We've had students actually who've done blogs on food blogs, fashion blogs, finance blogs. So there's no one right, area that you can start a blog on. And again, it creates a very positive presence of who you are online. And it also will give you experience in written communications. And shows people that you've gone the extra mile. And that's really what differentiates, what begins to differentiate you from someone else. For those of you who are Jewishly oriented, do offer shiurim online. I think one of the things that we've seen through the pandemic is that there have been many more online learning opportunities in both the secular world and the Jewish world. So that helps build up presentation skills, your oral communication skills. Watch TED Talks. One of the things that we have, we work very closely, our office works very closely with the pre-med and the pre-health office. And one of the things that they suggest students do before they interview is watch TED Talks on students interviewing for medical schools. That's particularly helpful when there are certain medical schools that follow what's called the MMI interviews, where they will ask you ethical questions. And you have to speak about this issue for 6 to 8 minutes. And so many people freeze. How am I going to do that? And one of the best ways to train yourself is actually watching TED Talks on ethical issues, answering ethical questions. Or even for those of you who are bolder, do a TED Talk. So that again, when you're there on an interview next year, and they say, so how did you spend your summer? You can actually say, well, actually, I did a TED Talk on blah, 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 blah. And obviously, if you can do a TED Talk related to your area of interest, your field of interest, that's even better. And finally, for people who are a little bit more passive and don't feel they have the gumption yet to do that, what you can do this summer that will be incredibly valuable to you for next year will be practice interviewing. You can practice by setting up mock interviews with the Career Center. You can practice on an online tool that the Career Center has called Big Interview, where there are questions that are pre-programmed in your particular area of interest, and you can then you can then answer, do practice interviews, and then you can have those interviews sent to somebody in the Career Center, sent to a professional that you're working with, and have them critique it. And finally, a colleague of mine just informed all of us that there's a new feature on LinkedIn called LinkedIn Practice Interviews. And I think that's another way that, again, for those of you who tend to be a little shyer or want to take more of a back seat, can utilize this summer productively in order to build this skill set of oral communication skills. So the second one we talked about are critical thinking or problem solving skills. So these also are very, very important. Okay, and here again, I'm just going to read the slide quickly. It's where you can exercise sound reasoning to analyze issues, make decisions, and overcome problems. And again, I can't think of a better critical thinking or problem-solving situation than the COVID situation we're in. Must be able to obtain, interpret, and use knowledge, facts, and data, and demonstrate creativity. So, how can you use this summer to demonstrate that you've been working on this skill set? One is, yes.
We have two questions, if you wouldn't mind.
Please, yes, happy, go ahead.
Okay, which oral and written communication skills are the most marketable?
Okay, so I'm not sure I understand that. So when you say which oral and written communication skills are marketable, I think oral and written communication skills, they don't differentiate between industries or fields. It's being able to effectively communicate to people, to team members, to large groups of people, to small groups of people. On interviews, you're even more, you have to demonstrate your oral communication skills by, speaking about yourself on a one-to-one basis. And in written communication skills, depending on your industry, then you're going to want to learn how to write professional memos if you're in business. You're going to want to learn how to, how to do PowerPoint presentations. So depending on your industry, there'll be different, oral and written communication skills that will be valuable. And when we get later on, when we talk about professionalism, one of the key things is to speak to someone in your field, to get a mentor, or to do informational interviews with people who are working in the field that you're interested in, and finding out what specific oral and written communication skills are valuable for that particular industry.
Thank you, Naomi. And we have one question that's been asked a couple of different ways. How would you best show off your oral and written communication skills? How would you best put that on a resume?
So depending on, again, what you've done thus far, depending on what you've done thus far. So if you've written a blog, you can actually put your blog on your resume. And you can then, describe what your blog is about. You can, one of the things we'll see later on is if you do a project this summer, either for a class, etc., you can actually write down, let's say you're a marketing major and you're taking a course this summer in marketing rather than doing an internship. So put on your resume that you did maybe part of your, we know that a lot of the classes, at least at Sims or the business school, are very project oriented. So that many of you will have to work on group projects and might have to deliver PowerPoint presentations or write PowerPoint presentations. So you can describe this under a project section on your resume. So again, depending on what you're trying to get across, there are different creative ways that you can include it on your resume.
Thank you, Naomi. We'll hopefully have some more questions later.
Okay. So your critical thinking, problem solving skills. How can you gain experience this summer if you're not in an internship, okay? Well, one of the things, obviously, you can take courses online. The courses that I think really develop problem solving skills or critical thinking skills, I think are philosophy classes, law classes, classes that involve project oriented, like I said before, certain marketing classes. I think computer science classes really use that part of the brain that's very good at critical thinking. So all of those classes, even English classes, specifically English literature classes, all of those can develop critical thinking skills. For those of you who are more tech-oriented, you can participate in hackathons. Look online, Google hackathons in New York City to see if there might be any going on over the summer. Learn how to do case studies. So for anybody interested in business, especially those interested in consulting. Case studies are a critical way for companies to assess your critical thinking skills. How do you think through a problem, a case that is presented before you? And as I mentioned before, similar to this, if you learn how to do case studies, or you learn also how to do what's called MMI interviews for students who are going on either dental or medical school interviews, again, learning what it is that goes into an effective answer for an MMI question for medical school is really helpful. Look for various contests in your field. So many professional associations. First of all, every profession has a professional association. And look at your professional association and see if they're offering any contests in your field. I know there used to be a time that Goldman Sachs used to offer some contests to students, or Bloomberg, these are people obviously in business, used to offer contests in their field. So look and see if there are specific contests in your field that you might be able to get involved in. Do brain teasers. So again, you can just Google that, and it all kind of works with your analytical thought process that can serve you well as you go on interviews. Sudoku, crossword puzzles, all of those are, again, additional ways that this summer you can work on your critical thinking and problem solving skills. Next is teamwork or collaboration, okay? And with that, what we're really talking about is building collaborative relationships with colleagues and clients representing cultures, races, ages, genders, religions, lifestyles, and viewpoints. Diversity is the key. Must be able to work in a team structure and negotiate and manage conflict. So I cannot tell you how often one of the questions in an interview will be is, tell me about the last time you had a conflict with someone and how did you resolve it? So again, this is not just theory, but this is actual practice. So how can you practice this summer on teamwork and collaboration? One way is volunteer on a community project or work with a friend to start a community project. So one of the things I'm really proud to say is that some of our students during the COVID crisis actually have started community-based projects in their own community. One student I know got involved in food deliveries to the elderly, the homebound elderly. Another student took initiative to do tutoring sessions as a follow-up to students who were learning online, elementary and high school students who were learning online who needed extra support. So there are many different ways that you can look for opportunities. For volunteering, there's an organization called Volunteer Match. I just went on with a student today who was very frustrated. She's interested in going to PA school, and she needs to get inpatient hours. And a lot of hospitals are not accepting volunteers. So one of the things we found was we found a hospice that was actually looking for volunteers. And this is perfect for her because it would give her patient hours. So again, you have to be creative. And our office is happy to work with you in finding such opportunities. If you don't know of any opportunities, maybe go on Facebook. Put a notice out there that you're looking for community projects. So that also can be great. And again, if you're doing it with a friend, it shows teamwork and collaboration. Offer to work on a team project as part of a course. So again, take a course where you know team projects are a requirement. And for other people, what I want to just say is for teamwork and collaboration, I was working again with a particular student whose internship fell through in business. And one of the things I spoke to with him, and as I said, well, is anybody in your family involved in any kind of business? Do they own a business? And he says, yes, they do. And I said, well, how about approaching one of them and asking them, you know, can you do a project for them that maybe they never got to, that might be involved with, you know, increasing, you know, their business development. You know, there are people, just because of the, I think, stress that everything has produced under coronavirus and under this time, that, you know, many people haven't gone to projects they intended to. Maybe offer to help them with a project or suggest a project for them. And I also suggested this to a student, to reach out to a professional association and do the same thing. See if perhaps they might be interested in having a student volunteer work on a particular project that they may not have been able to get to. This just happened. The third one, I will say, is not my idea, but over this weekend, I social distanced with a friend who had a birthday, and her niece was there celebrating her birthday. And she said a lot of her friends are working on political campaigns now. It's a great way, right? You know, elections are coming up this year. So it's a great way to show that you can work with others on a team and collaboration. And again, I'm being apolitical about this, by the way. See if your show needs any assistance in planning events, or look for meetup groups in your particular area of interest and see if they're doing any interesting projects that you might be able to get involved with. So those are ways you can work on that skill set. Okay, the next is leadership. So with leadership, it's identifying and applying strengths of others to achieve common goals and use interpersonal skills to develop others. Okay, so you are kind of helping them advance. Must be able to assess and manage emotions, use skills to guide and motivate others, and organize and delegate work. So those of you who might be involved in team sports, you know, those of you might have taken on leadership positions in teams. That's a great way of doing that. Again, in this COVID summer, there may be less sports opportunities available. So again, here are some additional ways that you might be able to get leadership abilities, is work on them, is read leadership books. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Again, it's a passive way, but again, when someone says, so how did you spend your summer? You can say, actually, I read a fascinating book. And you talk about the book and what lessons you learned from it and how you're going to apply them now to your career. So again, it may not be through an internship that you develop this leadership concept or skill set, but you read books about it. Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek, Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg, Primal Leadership by Daniel Goleman. So you can read up about leadership skills. Start an organizational project. Again, during the birthday party I'm talking about, another niece of this person started her own art business where she created and boxed art projects that she sent to families, and so that they already had all the materials there, and there were instructions on how to actually guide them through the art projects. So this showed initiative, this showed creativity, and she's making money. So she started her own organization or project. And as I said before, many of you might have family members who are in business, and you can ask them if there's a project that you can get involved in. Or as I said before, go to log on to a website of a professional association, see if any projects are there that you can work on. We said before, create a blog is another way, also showing leadership, because it's saying that you're taking initiative. You're finding out what the best practices are, let's say, in a particular field you're interested in. And finally, and again, this is one of the most passive ways, is go on LinkedIn and see what leaders in your particular field are reading or doing. And again, join groups that they're in so that you can see what best practices are and what leadership styles are. Again, I think it's ways in which you can build your leadership skills, um, even though you may not have an opportunity to do a project or be involved in an organization, etc. Okay, so the next one is digital technology. So again, in this day and age, and I have to say, um, do as I say, not necessarily as I do, but we know in today's age, digital technology is critical. It's being able to utilize digital technology in an ethical and efficient way to solve problems, complete tasks, and accomplish goals. Must be aware of and learn new and emerging technologies easily. So in order to do that, there are a couple of things that you need to do, which is, or need to know, I would say, is you need to know what is the technology that is being used in your industry. Okay, so, you know, technology used, let's say, in marketing is maybe different technology that's used in finance or that's used in accounting or that's used in healthcare. Especially now, a lot of healthcare now is going on telemedicine, right? We know that we've seen, if anybody watches the television, we've seen so many advertisements on Teams, like advertising the benefits of Teams, because that's a technology that people are using actually across, I'd say, industries to really keep up with what's going on in their field. So learn it, use the summer to learn it. You can say, well, how will I learn it? There are free courses on organizations like Code Academy, Udemy, Coursera. Find out from professors, like what, you know, do they have any suggestions of online courses, free online courses you could take for your particular field? And everyone these days should familiarize themselves with social media. Again, I think I've gone from the most expenditure of energy to the least, which is familiarize yourself with social media. Everybody in this webinar should have already created a LinkedIn profile. If they have not, the first thing you do after this webinar is create a LinkedIn profile or contact the Career Center to help you create a LinkedIn profile. Learn about Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, especially anybody who's interested in marketing, because you know that social media is a critical way to that people in marketing are interfacing with clients and customers. Okay. Okay. Career management. So for that, it's being able to identify and convey the skills, knowledge, and experience one possesses relevant to the position desired and your career goals. Must be able to identify areas of further development, demonstrate ability to explore job options, can take steps to pursue opportunities, and shows that you understand how to advocate for yourself in the workplace. So how can you work on career management if you're not in an internship? Well, learn about your field of interest and educate yourself through a tool we have online called Vault Online. Vault on Campus. It's a great tool. In order to log onto it or to register for it, you must have a YU account, and you use your YU email as your account. And it's a fantastic way to learn about opportunities in your particular industry. Sorry, I don't know how that went. Yes, and educate yourself on what is the career development in your particular field. So when they say on an interview next year, you know, where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years? And that could be an interview question in, what do you call it, for a full-time job, for an internship, or for graduate school. It's a very common question. If you have done research over the summer about your area of interest, you can answer it with a level of sophistication. Join YU MVP. YU MVP, for those of you who don't know, is a YU program where you can connect with alumni or people who are very connected with YU and do conduct informational interviews with them. These are people who will happy to do mentoring, short-term mentoring with you, And that's a great way of using the summer, is by developing awareness about your field through informational interviews with people in the field that you're interested in. Network with professionals in your industry and ask them advice. That can be through YUMVP. It can be through LinkedIn. It can be through show contacts. Go on LinkedIn and just look at the profiles. If you are a person who's a little hesitant about connecting with others, go on LinkedIn, look up Yeshiva University, look at alumni, look at profiles of alumni who are in the fields you're interested in. See how they have built their careers. Because remember, what they have on their LinkedIn profile is not only what they're doing now, but how they got to where they are today. Some students, I will tell you honestly, have actually looked at students who've been out, let's say 5 years or less, and looked at where they did their internships and actually contacted some of those companies and to see if they had any internships this summer. So it's a great way to source potential opportunities, even for next year, hopefully, when the COVID lifts. Do an internship, a shadowing, or find a career-related project to undertake. As I said before, there are still opportunities on YUCL. And then finally, join, and this, again, I have to, every individual student I work with, I urge them, join a professional association as a student member. Membership usually is pretty minimal in terms of the fees, and it's a way of keeping up and keeping abreast of what's going on in your field. And you put it on your resume, and when you put down student member, American Psychological Association, or student member, Association of Speech and Hearing, American Association of Speech and Hearing Professionals, or the American Association of Certified Public Accountants. All of this will show an interviewer that you are thinking ahead, and that really is valuable. The next to the last, I think, is professionalism and work ethic. So how can you demonstrate effective work habits and personal accountability? You can show strong time management skills, effective working relationships, being able to be on time, project a professional image at all time, is ethical in your behavior, acts responsible, and can learn from your mistakes. So again, one very common question you're asked on interviews is, tell me the last time you made a mistake and what did you learn from it? So again, thinking about this will build up a sense of professionalism. Every profession has its own selected words and phrases that are critical to your field. Learn what the key buzzwords are and read up about them. Ask former employers, supervisors, or professors to write you recommendations on LinkedIn. That's a way to distinguish yourself. There's a level of professionalism there. That's the way to make your LinkedIn profile stand out in a very positive way, so that when people are looking for potential candidates, they go on your LinkedIn page and they say, wow, this person's former employer actually wrote them an outstanding recommendation. I think I want to see them. So again, that's highly valuable. And finally, speak to professors or supervisors if you're not sure, to familiarize yourself with professional terminology. Be, as I said before, part of a professional association. That definitely shows professionalism. You know, that will be valuable. And that's the way you can build that skill set. And finally and lastly is global intercultural fluency. And I think during the past few weeks, we've seen how important this is through, and I'm not getting political about this, I'm just sharing with you something recent where you know that this is really important, is through the recent protests with Black Lives Matter movement. And I'm not being political about this because I'm just sharing with you It shows that the country is in a heightened awareness that you have to have intercultural fluency. Companies now are being called to task. Graduate schools are being called to task. That you can really show that you value, respect, and learn from diverse cultures, races, ages, genders, sexual orientations, and religions, demonstrating openness, sensitivity, and ability to interact effectively with other people and understanding their differences. So how can you do this? One way is serve as a tutor for a foreign student. We at Yeshiva University have international students. Serve as a tutor, work with them. We have an international student advisor. Ask them if they might know of any students at YU who might need help over the summer to work on some of their skill sets, maybe their oral or written communication skill set in English. Read up on world events and see the relevancy they have to your area of interest. So again, whether it's healthcare, where they ask questions like, what will you add to our diverse class? Or whether it is a organization or a company who's going to say, how will you add to the diversity of our company? If you know what is going on in the world, you can think about this question and get involved in educating yourself about this issue so that you can move on and really show that you spent the summer really building on this important skill. You can get involved in intergenerational organizations like Dorot. Dorot is an organization that works with the elderly, and their whole concept is fostering intercultural and intergenerational relationships. Or even look into coalition building opportunities in your community, especially now with this focus on organizations. And even our university came out and said, it's important for us to understand other cultures. Look and see if you're in your community, whether or not there are coalition building organizations you can get involved in, whether it's the Association of Christians and Jews, or whether it's the NAACP, or whether it's on campus, our Sephardic Association. Whatever it is, look into coalition building opportunities in your community. So that's the end of our formal presentation. I just want to say that we urge all of you to utilize the Career Center over the summer because we can help you develop an individual plan to work on the skill sets that are going to be most valuable to you this summer, given your particular area of interest or your industry. You can schedule a Skype interview, you can schedule a phone interview, you can schedule a walk-in interview. We have live chats. If you go on YUCL, you will see all of these available on our website. And feel free to go on our website and reach out to us. And I know, I'm sorry, I went a little bit longer than I anticipated, but I want to really leave it open now to any individual questions students have about their particular field of interest.
Hi,
and how
Naomi.
they can build. Yes.
Hi, my name is S.J. Tannenbaum. I'm a rising senior.
Hi, SJ.
Hi, how are you? Just wanted to say thank you, first of all, for a wonderful presentation. I found it very educational and helpful.
Great, thank you.
One question I had was, do you think it is better for a student to intern in a position that he or she will learn more valuable skills in, but it's not so much in their area of interest, or in an area of their interest, but there's not so many like practical, hands-on worky skills that they might learn?
Okay, so SJ, CJ, so is SJ?
Yeah.
SJ, right? Yeah. SJ, it's hard for me to believe that if you're getting an internship, okay, in your field of interest, that you cannot develop these skill sets. Again, even if it's not part of your job, description, then you suggest projects that you can do in addition to the responsibilities that they want you to do, so that you can build on that skill set. And it doesn't have to be either or. I'll give you a good example. There was a student who wanted to do an internship in a particular field of interest, and she did that part-time. And then in addition, she did something else part-time, which worked on a different skill set. So you can also create something for yourself. Like I call it a formula. You can create a formula to work on the skill sets that you think are most valuable to work on. One, through, let's say, an internship that you do, so that you can put something on your resume that is related to your field of interest. And two, to show you've gone the extra mile, finding out from professionals in the field what are key skill sets that you may not be getting as part of your formal requirements on your job, that you can also build through suggesting additional projects you could get involved in your internship. Does that make sense, SJ? You think,
Yeah.
like a lot of students think, okay, so I have to do what people want me to do. For sure, you definitely do. That's the minimum requirements. But the fact that you take initiative to then want to show that you want to work on additional skills through other kinds of projects, you can do that. That shows someone who not only is doing what is required, but goes beyond what is required. And
Okay.
so on a potential interview, if someone says, tell me the last time you went beyond what was asked of you, hello, you got your answer.
Thank you very much.
Okay. You're welcome. Any other questions? Don't be shy. I mean, this is the time. I know that some people have to go, but this is the time to ask questions, because this is not a formal interview. This is not, an interview, or this is not a kind of formal place where you have to be concerned that a question you may ask may be silly. Feel free to ask whatever question you want. No question is silly.
Can I get another question in, if it's
Go
okay?
ahead. Yes, SJ, yeah.
So I was wondering, I started doing the tactic of taking the words and terms that are common in my industry and job positions and putting it on the resume.
Excellent.
I was just curious, why don't employers look at that the way that teachers would look at students' assignments in class and be like, oh, they cheated, or they copied and pasted the words? Why would employers not be suspicious that someone just wrote the same words but don't actually have the skills?
Okay, so two things. One of the things that we said, when you're writing your resume, you definitely have to use the terminology that's used in the field, but you also have to show how you did it. So it's not enough to say, I'm just going to choose something, a statement from let's say, I'll use a statement from marketing. So developed a social media campaign using various platforms, including XYZ, and increased business development by 10%. Well, when you add that to the end, you didn't see that in any job description that you increased business by 10%. So they're going to want to find out on an interview, tell me about this description you put in your resume under marketing that you increased. How did tell me more about what steps you actually took to do that. So you have to be able to back it up with evidence. So anything, I say this to all students, I say this to students, or I'm working with students also in social work school. You can't just put something down. You have to then be able to back it up, because if anything on your resume is food for questions and follow-up questions by potential interviewers. So you have to be able not only to talk the talk, but to walk the walk. And they will find out very quickly who just talks the talk and doesn't walk the walk.
Okay,
Does
thank
that
you.
answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, so if there are no other questions, I want to thank everyone for, excuse me, listening tonight. We are going to, we have this taped, and hopefully we will send the presentation out to students who attended this seminar. And feel free, please, as a follow-up, to contact me or to contact anyone in the Career Center for any questions you may have been too shy to ask online. And
Naomi,
wishing, yes.
I just wanted to say thank you. I'm an undergraduate student at Stern, and I